6 months down the line, how has it been so far?
Challenging, exciting, and to some extent fulfilling. Challenging in the essence that we mapped out some policy trusts that we wanted, to quickly do, hitting the ground running. On a monthly basis, I take a review, of how far we have gone, the implementation strategy, how robust they have been, have we been able to achieve our set goals. It's challenging because when you want to start changing, the mindset of a workforce, you could face some resistance, but by and large, I think they are beginning to see, the benefits in terms of, public acceptability of, their new approach or perspective to policing. So that has been, to me, a very fulfilling exercise.
How do you get feedback from members of the public or from your officers? How do you ensure that the agenda that you tend to drive are being implemented by your field soldiers?
When I started, I had promised my officers that I was not going to ambush anybody. I set up monitoring units to ensure that they go around the 6 geographical zones, ensure that people are not kept in custody for a long period that is necessary, because we're also attracting civil litigations, from our actions, to members of the public whenever we infringe their rights. The issue of the roadblock, we gave them some leeway. The roadblocks can be created once in a while, once it is intelligence led. But that's why you don't call them roadblocks, because it is not total blockage. It is just stop and search. We also have some technical platforms. They Stop the Bribes, www.stopthebribes.net. It's a robust platform.
Some analysts have always said there's crime upsurge, particularly violent crimes like kidnapping, robbery. What is your take on this? Would you say the crime rate is high, particularly as it relates to armed robbery, kidnapping?
In terms of some typologies of crime, there are some that at any epoch, any period in the country history, there is usually a rise. Once that one happens, it creates some anxiety in the minds of people, especially things like kidnapping. Robbery has been there once in a while. You have highway robbery, people burgling houses and all those things. Those ones they've been there. But when a new dimension, when a new trend is introduced into it, like seizing people, adopting people, it is something that is alien to our crime history. They've been there. If you trace the chronology of kidnapping in this country, you will discover that first and foremost, it started from the Niger Delta, and that one you can easily situate it. If you also look at globally, when you have insurgency or issues of terrorism, sometimes kidnapping can be a financing alternative to issues of terrorism. Let me quickly say, there is no society that does not have crime. You can only have a crimeless society where you don't have people, living together. Even in our domestic environment, where a husband, a wife, a family, they stay, sometimes you discover that there are some, some issues here and there. So, but it is when it becomes very worrisome that it starts creating, palpable fear in the minds of the people, that you now say that there is upsurge. It is not that crime will not happen. It is the response of the police force, the law enforcement agents to that crime that determines, the level of effectiveness and, efficiency of this thing. Then you also come and look at, the topography of Nigeria, the land mass, extensive. Look at Lagos, for example. The population of Lagos is equivalent to some states in Africa. Then you come and look at also the logistic holdings. Do we have technical platforms that can easily do these things? When one panelist was discussing about a day or two ago, he was trying to make a comparative study of what the United Kingdom has done, and I was saying the United Kingdom, they have very high success rate because the Big Sam is watching over everybody. You cannot commit any crime anywhere in the UK. It is not the expertise or the dexterity of the detectives that matters, but the technical platform. They just roll back. They go to that place and they get the footage of what has happened in those locations.
That's true, sir. That takes me to the next question. You talked about response and response to kidnapping, and it will take me to the issue of trust and ransom being paid by victims. The police force reacted very strongly recently to the assertion that Chief Olufalaye paid ransom, the family paid ransom to his kidnappers. The question that has arisen is that most people pay ransom because they feel that the police cannot respond quickly to rescue their loved ones. Also, the issue of trust. What are you doing to address this?
The police perspective on it is that paying of ransom means you are telling people that people can benefit from crime. It's a police force can never in the world tell members of the public that they should pay ransom. It could be a traumatic experience to have your relations or your parents being kidnapped, but then the police cannot encourage that, because when you encourage it, you are not emboldening the kidnappers themselves. You are telling them that, oh well, there is benefits in crime. I think what has happened over the years is that there is no crime that happens that does not have for things like kidnapping, that does not have internal connivance. If a crime is committed and you look at the social class of the people that are involved, it makes headlines because it makes the paper to sell. When we succeed in resolving the issues and prosecuting the people, that is supposed to be your function in the first instance.
Okay, Aisha, I want you to address the issue of trust. The ordinary man on the streets, his or her reaction is that police cannot be trusted.
Any point in a country's policing history, there is always that period where you have this issue of distrust. If you even look at the origin of policing, the police, what was it set up to do in the colonial era? It was set up so that it could assist the colonial masters to oppress them, and so that the colonialists can exploit their natural resources, and all those type of a thing. Now that we had gotten independence, you would have thought that our policing system will now start changing, into incorporating those social content of policing, those ones that can win the hearts and minds of the people. We've not been able to do that sufficiently, and that is why one of the policy thrusts of this administration is, why can't we reconnect to the community? The police cannot be everywhere. I talked about the expansive land mass. How many policemen do you require to actually police the country? Even if you have 1 million policemen, do they know their neighbors? It's a collaborative thing. It's not something alone that the police can do. We must learn to respect, to trust our police force. Because if you don't trust your police force, today it is your neighbor. Tomorrow you never can tell. It could be you. I'm getting the men to reconnect with the public. Every Nigerian has a stake in securing, the security space. Yeah.
You said a year from now, people referring to you as IG.
Oh yes, I said that.
So what legacy?
Yes.
Do you intend to leave behind?
When I leave, I want to leave Nigerians to judge me. Has this officer been able to change the mindset of policing in this country? Has he been able to touch the lives, especially my own policemen? Have I been able to touch the lives of the inspectors and rank and file? The most critical, class of officers who do, most of the work. We can think at the strategic level. I can reel out policies. I can, articulate those policies. I can tell them about implementation strategy. But they are the ones who are supposed to actualize those things, who are supposed to bring it to dream. Have I been able to touch their lives in terms of their welfare policies? We floated a foundation, a scholarship foundation, and we expect that children of, our policemen who died in the course of duty can also benefit, from that foundation. It's something that, will outlive this administration. That is why I am incorporating it in the Corporate Affairs Commission, to say that there must be a foundation, a scholarship foundation, where we will be able to also appeal to members of the public, corporate social bodies, to say let them key into it, let it be a fund, a revolving fund, where children of our deceased colleagues and those ones who are still living, who they have the intellectual depths but they lack the financial muscle, can key into that particular program, because who knows, one of them tomorrow could be an IG, another tomorrow can be a commissioner of police or a deputy inspector general of police. It is time and chance that determines, everything. I don't want to engage in self-glorification. I don't want to do that. I want to leave it to, my officers and men, who I have worked with over the years, and I also want to leave it to Nigerians who have watched me, talk about these things and act them out. They should be the judge. I should not judge myself.
It's on this note we say thank you to the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, for granting us this very important interview. Thank you, sir, for having us in your office.
Thank you, Tosan, and let me thank you and your crew. To me, you are an icon of, police reportage. You've been there, and we really appreciate you. Thank you.
Crime fighters, promoting security consciousness.